Hello, it's James and Ciardi. I thought you'd want to know a little bit more about medical residents. I know I did. So I had a nice long conversation with a medical resident named Ashley, who's originally from Texas. She moved over here to do her residency at UCSF, which is one of the best schools in the country. Ashley explained to me that to become a resident, you first have to take an initial licensing exam. Based on the strength of that licensing exam, you may or may not get into a medical school. Now, I said medical school, not residency. If you score well on your licensing exam, you can choose to go to a prestigious medical school like UCSF. Well, if you score poorly, then you're going to go to another medical school that's not quite so prestigious, like Bob's Medical School or something. I don't think it's that bad. But anyway, you might not even be accepted at all if you don't score well on the licensing exam. After 4 years of medical school, you are officially a doctor. Congratulations. However, if you want to specialize in a more specific field of medicine, then you have to apply for a residency. That's where you get to be a resident or a resident doctor. Depending on which field you want to specialize in, this residency can be 3 years or longer. For example, neurology is a really complicated field. That takes 7 years. But once you've decided to do what you want to do for your residency, you can apply to a bunch of different schools and interview with each one. Then you make a list, a matching list, like a list, basically a list of what schools you really want to go to. Like your most desired school is this one, second most is this one, third most is this one, etc. At the same time, you've been interviewing with all of these schools, and the schools are going to decide which students they want. These are the student we really want, then this one, then this one. So on a specific day of the year called Match Day, everyone in the country finds out what school they're going to and what school they're going to spend the next 4 to 7 years of their life learning their trade. It's a very highly anticipated occasion. But Ashley, she found out she was going to UCSF. That's where she really wanted to go, and she was stoked. So the first year of residency, you're an intern. More senior residents are going to depend on you to report vital signs and lab students and lab values. And after your internship with this 1 year, then you're a resident. Now, Ashley is working towards her specialty in internal medicine. She's working in the ICU at the VA here, that's the hospital I'm at, because they require a certain amount of ICU time, and she's fulfilling that requirement. But she's already done a year at UCSF and a year at San Francisco General Hospital. And those are both very high pressure, very advanced hospitals. They're both very, very good hospitals. So she's doing her ICU rotation for the next month. And then she's going to be, during that time, she's going to be one of 3 or 4 residents caring for patients in the ICU. Patients who have an internal medicine problem like ascites or renal failure, Ashley's going to take care of them. If a patient gets admitted who had a stroke, well, then there's a neurology patient who will take care of them. If there's no neurology patient or no neurology resident and somebody comes in with a stroke, well, Ashley's just going to have to do her best with it. So Ashley makes pretty good money as an intern, but if you look at how many hours she works, it's really not that much. It's kind of not really fair, the amount of money she gets for the amount of money or the amount of hours she puts in. Every 3 days, Ashley has to work a 24-hour shift, and during that time, she's responsible for all of the patients in the ICU. She's also responsible for all of the emergencies that happen in the hospital. So if somebody goes in, has a heart attack or has a really serious event, she has to go to that patient and make sure everything's going to be okay. She can be awakened at 3 o'clock in the morning by a concerned nurse or a respiratory therapist, and she's got to take care of it. She says that these years are very, very difficult because the coursework is very demanding and the lack of sleep and everything. But after she's done with her residency, she'll be making a lot more money, and after residency, everything gets a lot easier. If she wants to further specialize, she can go into a fellowship, which is a little bit easier than a residency. It's more years and more money and more time, but after you come out, you're an attending doctor, and that's a very high-ranking doctor, if you finish your fellowship, that is. fellowship and residency are not the same thing. You can stop after your residency and start finding work, and a lot of people choose to do that. Well, that's all I have time for about residency. Hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for listening.